Hey Doobs, welcome to another fantastic edition of the Final Thoughts series where we just take a moment and reflect about the games we recently just played. And of course, today we're talking about the Rehydrated, remastered SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, Rehydrated by Purple Lamp Studios. They haven't done too much, but yeah, they really just brought this game from a game that was originally released back on the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox days back in 2003, and they really did a lot to just increase the fidelity, mostly in the graphics, but really this game is a 1-to-1 remake ratio, much of the likes that we've seen with Toys for Bob, especially in Blue Point Games, doing games like Shadow of the Colossus, and of course the Crash Bandicoot Insane and Trilogy respectively. So here we have a similar remake fidelity with just bringing the classic adventure to light, not really changing too much in the game, just really modernizing what made the original so fun and lovable for fans of the series. This is the Nickelodeon series we're talking about, and yeah, THQ has really picked a lot of their franchises. THQ Nordic publishes this series, and they have a lot of series that they're bringing back even on the twilight of next gen, where we're really just getting one last experience of games that we've seen back in the day, and sometimes they can be a hit and sometimes they can be a miss. Okay, so what are we actually doing here in SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated? Well, it's kind of not really a platforming marvel by any means, but I'd say what the original game here did create something kind of special that really just intertwined the characters with some great platforming gameplay and things that really made sense in the SpongeBob universe, and really a lot of callbacks to the episodes, like SpongeBob riding on his tongue during the slopes in the Sandy Hill Zone, and just a lot of fun and a lot of really inferences and references within the levels themselves, especially with the amazing callback to the voice acting. I think they took the original voice acting and just kind of re-implemented it in this game. I wish maybe they took the time to kind of remodernize that, but getting the cast and crew would be really hard, especially now. But yeah, mostly everyone sounds right on par with Tom Kenny and the regular class. We got Sandy and Larry the Lobster and everyone. It just comes back in an all new way. The whole cast, no one's really missed here. It really does bring the light. So yeah, you'll be getting just a lot of your platforming action here. You get your occasional upgrade in the form of bubble rockets and bowling ball techniques, and you get to play as Sandy, Patrick, and SpongeBob. So there's a little bit of variety there. Not like they're too crazy. Sandy can kind of use her lasso to hover, which is a lot of fun. And this course, I was playing this game on the patch update, so it was kind of hard to see if there was a lot of the faults that was brought over as far as game breaking and glitching. I did bump into the occasional boundary breaker, and I couldn't really progress without reloading my save. But that being said, it didn't really hinder my experience too much, as it was just a fun foray into each new level from a hub world, much like we have seen in previous games and past games that have done this really effectively, such as Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, along those lines. Yeah, I just really, it just kind of reminded me of a video game from back in the day, and I gotta give supreme brownie points for them not throwing any type of microtransactions or loot boxes. I'm always going to praise that, just because that is been such a problem, specifically in the modern age. So it's like, let's not try to get milked out here. Let's just enjoy a game for what it is. This also is a budgeted title at $40, so I do have to give it brownie points. It seems like THQ Nordic is going to keep running along these games, and not too in the distant future, we're going to be getting Destroy All Humans remake, also a budgeted title. And of course, they did kind of milk us on some of the collector's editions, which I could just not pass up. But that's just all for all you collectors fans out there, and I'm really glad they gave us the option. But yeah, as you can see here, nothing really innovative or groundbreaking graphic-wise or gameplay-wise. But what it does do really well, and I just enjoyed myself from start to finish. And I gotta like really praise the mini puzzles in between the levels that weren't really necessarily mandatory, but you just kind of find yourself getting caught up of all these, somewhat smart puzzles. Most of the main game is pretty easy for the most part. It's only going to take you really a couple sessions if you're not really shooting for everything to really enjoy the game. You can breeze through it pretty easy, but if you were a fan of the original, you're definitely going to feel right at home here, as it is the 1-to-1 remake. They even did add a multiplayer mode, which I only dived into a little bit, and again, there wasn't anything groundbreaking there. It's just kind of a party rip-off of kind of what you'd see in like a Mario Party, but it is appreciated here to kind of expand that multiplayer mode, especially with not tacking on an additional DLC price tag or anything of that sorts here. But yeah, just want to keep this review light and short. There's really not too much here to say, rather than it's just a really straightforward experience with, a thrown-in story. Of course, Plankton is up to no good, but again, his voice acting sounds great as well. And you'll even see some minor characters pop their head in, like Mrs. Puff and Bubble Buddy, to really give you some extra missions. And of course, plenty of references and in-episode jokes that fall right into this game perfectly. They give you a couple of fun moves and game mechanics to use here, and some, for the most part, it really does give you the option to kind of figure out the puzzles on your own without being too hard or too clunky. But I think, I'm kind of still waiting for that super polished AAA SpongeBob game. I don't know if we'll ever really get any of those. Maybe we'll get one based on the upcoming movie coming out. But this is just going to really satisfy SpongeBob fans and maybe some platforming fans until we really do get a super crazy ultimate SpongeBob experience. But I'm really impressed that THQ took the time to even remaster this game, or rehydrated, I should say. And just give it a very nice fresh coat of paint. This game doesn't look, by any means amazing or pushing the boundaries on that market, but it does look clean. It does look like they took the time to really just, flesh out the walls and maybe some of the minor aspects that weren't really seen in the GameCube version and PS2 versions, like some pictures on the wall actually not having any pictures. Now they're really flushed out. With some great art and polished that way. Yeah, we got our classic boss battles that aren't too crazy to figure out as well. You'll kind of spend your time picking out good strategies for different enemies. I really do like the different enemy design here and all the different types of enemies they throw at you. I really do appreciate that it kind of does try to mix it up. And there's really only a good handful of levels here, but there is going to be a lot to do post game. There's a lot of, this is a game where there's going to be a lot of padding with the collectibles and stretching out the levels that way. But hey, that's welcome for me, as there's no crazy DLC or additive. It's just, hey, here's the game, here's the story, and if you want to 100% the game, have fun with that. I think that's actually a pretty straightforward formula to go to when you're not trying to have a super huge $1 million crazy budget. It's just the game at its heart, with great voice acting, solid platforming, with maybe the occasional bug here and there that'll maybe set you back and hinder experience and you have to reload your save like I did. But since the game really didn't stretch itself out too far, there's just more good things to say here than bad. And of course, that's going to be really up to you if you want to spend the $40. I recommend this game maybe more on a sale. I think you'll really find the value in it more with just maybe a couple bucks off. But it's just nice to have a break from getting these long-winded, high cinematic experiences like we've recently seen with The Last of Us and a bunch of other AAA titles such as Final Fantasy VII. It's nice just to sit down and play a video game with basic to awesome platforming, just really funny in-game references, especially if you've watched the show. If you're a 90s kid like me, I think you'll really get more of the humor and just kind of relive your childhood that way. That's mostly what I'm finding with this game, and I think that's exactly what THQ and Purple Lamp Studios was really going for when they were remastering and they chose this game to remaster, especially when we'll probably get more of that with Destroy All Humans, with just kind of plucking at our back in the day strings to get us going a little bit there. But yeah, Doobs, I'm going to have to give this game a 7 out of 10 with a solid approval of purchase, especially on some type of sale, just because the platforming is there, the jokes are there, and you know, it's just kind of was what it is. So thank you so much, Doobs, for joining with me on this episode of the Final Thoughts series and reflection. Hope you all have a great day, and as always, we'll be right back.